Now we call this root position because the name of the chord, this is a C chord, is all the way to the left or in the bass. So that's C in root position. But if we take the C and we take it up an octave, it's still a C major chord. It's still a one chord, but the E is all the way to the left or the lowest note. So we have an E in the bass. That's still a C major chord or a one chord. But we call that first inversion. So this is C root position. And then we take this C up an octave, and that's our C first inversion. And then we still have one more possibility. We can have the G or the fifth of the chord in the bass. So by taking the E up an octave, then we have this, which we call our second inversion. So that is also a C major chord, but it has a G in the bass. This is a C major chord with an E in the bass, and this is a C major chord with a C in the bass. So this is root position, first inversion, second inversion, and then back to root position. Now, being able to play these three different fingerings, let's look at these really quickly. This is root position. There's one note in between. We got the first, third, and fifth finger, and there's one note in between each. That's a common fingering for root position. And then this would be first inversion, and you'll see I've got my first finger on the third of the chord, my second finger on the fifth of the chord, and then my fifth finger back on the root of the chord. So just learn this fingering. And then for the third position, the fingering would be thumb on the fifth of the chord, and then the third finger and fifth finger. And then back to root position. So here's a little exercise that you should do with each hand to learn and memorize these three hand positions. Because if you use these hand positions anywhere on the white keys, we have 7 triads and 3 possible inversions for each one. Root position, first inversion, and second inversion. And so we have 21 possible voicings of the 7 triads. So if you play these fingerings anywhere on the white keys, you're playing one of the inversions of the 7 triads. Here, once again, this is root position because the C is in the bass of the C chord. Here is first inversion because the third of the chord E is in the bass. Here is second inversion because the G, the fifth of the chord, is in the bass. And then we're back to the one chord or the root position. That actually all was the one chord. That is the C major chord, the C major triad, and the 3 different inversions: root position, first inversion, second inversion. Likewise, you can play any one of the 7 triads by using the same fingerings. Let's try a D, the 2 chord. All you got to do is the same position, same hand positions, and that'll give you the 3 inversions of the 2 chord, which is a D minor. That's the same hand positions, only instead of playing the C chord, I'm playing the D chord. Watch, C chord. That's all 3 inversions of the 1 chord. Here's the 2 chord, same fingerings, just starting on a different note. Then we got the 3 chord. Same hand positions, I'm just moving up by a note. 4 chord, all 3 inversions. 5 chord, all 3 inversions. Same fingering, I'm just starting one note higher. 6th chord A minor, all 3 inversions. And then the 7th chord B diminished, we'll learn diminished, but it's all the same fingering. So we can play 7 different triads with 3 different inversions, giving us 21 different possibilities using 3 hand positions. Root position, first inversion, second inversion, back to root position. And you just start on any note to make that chord an inversion. Here's the F one more time, the 4 chord. So technically, if I stay on the white keys and use any one of those 3 hand positions, I'll be playing one of the inversions of the 7 triads. I'll just make this up randomly just using hand positions. I don't even know what chords I played. I just was using randomly the 3 hand positions.